I wanna be a billionaire, so freaking bad. Buy all of the things I never had. I wanna be on the cover of Forbes magazine, smiling next to Oprah and the Queen. Oh, every time I close my
the conventional wisdom of most business schools is, specialize in the area you know best. Do not, go out of that area and spend your life, just tackling one particular area of business. So, by evolving as a company, we've survived, and in a sense, by breaking what the conventional wisdom was, we've survived. But I think it's just, and I also think it's important to realize that you don't have to be able to fly a plane or change the nuts and bolts on the engine to go into the airline business. You don't have to be an expert at the airline business. What you have to be good at is good with people. You have to be very good at finding wonderful people to run your companies. And I think early on I realized that if I could run one company well, I could run any company. It was just up to me to make sure I got the best people to run those companies, and made sure that they were properly incentivized, properly motivated, and given quite a lot of freedom to go ahead and make good things and make
What
mistakes.
advice would you give for somebody who's starting a small business today?
One of the things I see in new businesses is they're often looking for perfection, and I think this is a really big mistake. I think you ought to be looking for experiments, and quick experiments, and it's okay to have little failures. And what you want to do is learn as much as you can very quickly, and try things. And certainly when we were a small business, we'd go out and try all sorts of things to find what would work. And then, we found something to work, well, we'll do that 100 more times or 1,000 more times. We still do it today as a large company.
For small businesses starting out, what advice would you give to them? Because it is a tough time at the moment. Economically, it's a really tough time for all business. So how do people get through tough times like this?
One of the things that people do instinctually when there are tough times is they kind of do nothing. They kind of hunker down.
This is sort of frozen rabbits in the headlights.
Yeah, it's kind of just complete stunned into inaction, and I think that's actually the worst thing to do. I think times when everyone is confused and kind of stunned present the most enormous opportunity because nobody's really doing anything. So. I think this is a time where the seeds of really successful new businesses will be created. In fact, if you look in our industry, which I'm most familiar with, the greatest companies kind of came out of and were formed in some of the most difficult times in the industry, when no one was really looking and everyone thought the whole thing was going to go south. All of a sudden, a whole new breed of companies emerged. So. For example, if you look at when Dell was formed in the early 1980s, 1984, this was a pretty dark time in the U.S. economy. The personal computer industry had just gone through a big down cycle, and the prevailing wisdom was that all electronics would be dominated by the Japanese. Yeah. And that we had this big boogeyman called the Japan Inc., and that no one could compete with Japan Inc. And especially in something like computers. Well, that turned out to be completely wrong, and there was enormous opportunity, and huge waves of productivity were unleashed with the computer industry flourishing.
Finally, what are the three most important factors, in your opinion, for successful small business?
I think you've got to kind of know what you're good at and have a clear focus and a clear articulation of what it is that you offer that's valuable, why it's valuable. I think you've got to be able to take advantage of resources around you, whether it's technology or social media or your suppliers or your partners. You've got to figure out an executional model in terms of how do you organize that, how do you mobilize a team of people, how do you not try to do it all yourself. you know, and how do you engage, you know, the rest of the team so that, you know, as a leader or creator of a small business, you can multiply your own capacity through, you know, an increasingly larger team.